Welcome to another Telltale Books video. I'm Greg,
I'm Emily.
and we're continuing our Arthur C. Clarke series, covering everything we can get our hands on in order of publication. And we're still pretty early in Arthur C. Clarke. This is only his 10th published
We
work.
made it through the top 10.
This was a short story published in December 1946, first published in Britain in a magazine there called Fantasy,
Oh, okay.
and first published in the United States, and this is where we read it, in Thrilling Wonder Stories for June of 1950, with a beautiful Earl Burgundy cover on it, which has nothing to do with technical error.
It has nothing to do with technical error, but her tits be tittying. Those
Okay.
awesome pointy nipples. Sorry. It was very distracting for a moment. I like looking at the illustrations
And
inside.
for some reason, I don't have it on here, but if I'm not mistaken, this has a different title of The Reversed Man.
Oh,
Isn't that right?
yeah.
Because you were asking me about that. Is it also
Yeah.
called The Reversed Man?
The
It
Reverse
is.
Man. Yeah.
So it was also published under a different title of The Reversed Man.
Sorry, I'm laughing at old ads.
Oh, okay.
Women Are Here to Stay, or How to Stay at Home with a Good Book and Like It. The first book is called The Sex Machine by Shepard Mead.
Oh boy.
I love a good 1950s ad.
Yeah.
The illustrations in here are kind of fun though.
Uh-huh.
It has very few, but interesting.
Yeah, that magazine had a lot of Virgil Finlay, a lot of Hannes Bach,
Mm-hmm.
beautiful work on
Yeah,
the interior
gorgeous. Love the vibrant colors
illustrations.
too. This is
And yeah, I
excellent
always love
condition.
the covers for all the
Mm-hmm.
color and stuff. They're fun,
I do
even
like her
though
outfit though. That's a
yeah,
really cute dress.
they're
I'd wear that.
pinups, but
I wear it. I'd wear that.
okay.
That's no worse than most Halloween costumes you see out there in the
Well, yeah,
world.
you
Honestly.
watch some of the pop stars videos and they're wearing a whole lot less than that.
Mm-hmm. I'll get my back to you so I don't
Okay.
set it too close to my soda.
But anyway, the story, in case I haven't said, is titled Technical Error in
Yes.
most sources. Um, Aside from Thrilling Wonder Stories, which also you can find a PDF online of that
Mm-hmm.
magazine,
That's where it's
it's
from.
also in the Great SF Stories, Volume 8 for 1946, edited by Isaac Asimov and Martin H. Greenberg, which was a DAW paperback published back in 1982, which I have a copy of. And it is in the collected stories of Arthur C. Clarke, which is a Tor hardcover that was published in 2001. And used copies of this are pretty easy to get and not that expensive.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's
So,
a thick one.
oh yeah,
It's a real hefty book.
it's most of his short fiction.
Those are some hefty
So there's a
pages,
lot of
dude.
really cool stuff in there that
They
I've
did not skimp on
never read
this.
before. Yeah, it's a good book.
This is really good. Well
If you love
made.
Arthur C. Clarke, you got to have this book in your collection. It's
Very nice. I was not
not
expecting the
complete without
paper
it.
to be that nice
Yeah.
for a mass produced, even for a hardcover. That was really nice. You could bludgeon a man to death with it if you needed to.
You could. It could be a weapon.
That's
It could be
very
a
heavy.
doorstop.
That is like a 10-pound book. Goodness gracious.
You could
That's
smash
as heavy as my
spiders.
cat. One of my cats.
Your
Not
cats are
Henry.
lighter than that.
No, one of them's about 10 pounds. Henry's
Okay.
like 20. So he's like two of those.
Okay.
Yep.
So, synopsis.
The synopsis is there's a generator, an experimental generator that is going to be tested for the first time. But while they are doing last minute checks before making it fully operational, a gentleman is in the generator right in the middle, and there's a power surge.
Hmm.
Unexpected power surge between a storm and another plant of some kind operating.
Hmm.
That this power surge just causes this huge flash, not exactly an explosion, but it feels like one.
Hmm.
And then some guy looks in the pit and his friend is gone, but then suddenly reappears again. And he seems in order. Everything
Hmm.
seems fine.
Hmm.
Except when he's in the hospital, they're finding he's reading things backwards.
Yeah.
Like he can't read right facing words.
Hmm.
And then they start looking at the belongings that were on his person, and everything's flipped around. And then at one point he says, I know this is my right hand because I have my wedding band on it and I can't remove it because it's kind of stuck on there,
Hmm.
only for it to be his left hand by the perception of the doctors. So as they're trying to figure out what happened, they realize like literally everything got flipped around. Like this guy's mirrored somehow. The change in his pocket is mirrored. All the words are backwards in his notebook. In his handbook, all the words are backwards. So they're like, somehow this guy got flipped around. He is a mirror image of what he was before the incident.
I am a little confused about that wedding ring part,
Yeah.
saying that he normally wears his wedding ring on his right hand.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't everybody wear it on their left hand?
I mean, I've done it on my right.
I mean, I don't wear mine, but
Yeah, I haven't worn mine for a while because my hands swell a lot,
hmm.
but I've been wearing it on my right. I
See,
think
I
it's
never
just a preference. Mm-hmm.
the symbolism of the wedding band. This is your wedding ring finger.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you wear your wedding ring.
Mm-hmm.
So why would he be wearing it on his right hand?
Probably because he wants it to flash around more because he's right-handed. I don't
I don't
know.
know. It
Or
it
maybe,
confused me
yeah,
why Clarke would say that when it's clearly the opposite of the societal norm.
yeah. Honestly, I think it is a personal preference kind of situation. Maybe he
Okay,
was he married? Is he Clarke?
Clarke.
Yeah, was Clarke ever married? Did he just not know?
Not that I don't remember reading about him being married. He was bisexual.
Oh, so it
So
could have been anything.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'd want to be wild and free if I was bisexual, at least,
Okay.
not be pinned down. But I am bisexual. What am I saying?
That's why I'm sitting here laughing.
I know.
Your
Like
show.
here I am married. But yeah, it's yeah, that part I think it's just a personal preference. Like I wore mine on my right hand cuz it was more comfortable, and that's what we
Okay.
fitted my finger for. Um, but yeah, so basically this guy's reversed,
And
which
because that's
is
what you lead with, and you wanted that diamond
yeah, if
ring
you
there.
want to punch somebody, you always put your keys laced between your fingers and in your dominant hand. And if you're gonna swing with that hand, keep your jewelry on that hand. Believe it or not, that is what young women are taught a lot. You want to swing with your dominant hand. Um, but yeah, so they think he's gonna make a full recovery. He's adjusting to reading the other way fine. He's figuring it out. So they're like, all right, that was weird, but he'll be fine until he's consuming an above normal amount of food, but he is wasting away.
Hmm.
And they're like, what the heck? How is he not? It's like his body's not processing any of the food at all. So I don't understand fully the science of this, but from what I do understand, in a lot of our vitamins and minerals that we need to nourish our bodies, sometimes the right or left molecule is what really we need and the other one isn't necessarily useful
Hmm.
for the nourishment. The body will just not utilize that part or something like that.
Right.
And based off of what most of the nutrients, which molecule is the active molecule, I think, if I'm saying it right, that's what helps the body process and take on the nutrition. But his body was taking on the wrong molecule. It
Hmm.
was taking the opposite molecule that had no nutritional value. I
Yeah.
think that's basically what it
Yeah.
was. If I'm under. Okay. Cool. I got the comprehension. So, because he was fully reversed, the wrong molecules were being processed and they weren't nourishing his body at all.
Right.
So, then they have to go through the process of figuring out we could either reverse all the food in that generator, which is going to be millions of dollars annually
Hmm.
to keep this guy alive, or we take the high risk of hurting him and putting him
Back to
back
it.
in and trying to flip him around again.
Hmm.
And that's the story
Yep.
of how that all happens
Uh-huh.
and how that all goes down. And something explodes at the end, and it's great. We never are fully clear on if he actually makes it because the first time, spoiler alert, he was gone for a period of time before he became visible again.
Mm-hmm.
Based off of whatever dimension he got flipped around in.
Mm-hmm.
So when they did the experiment, he disappeared entirely. And it wasn't the exact conditions. They just tried to manufacture the exact conditions or something close to it to try and mimic what happened to him to see if it would put him back to rights. And in doing so, it not being the exact conditions, he didn't reappear right away. But it's not very clear in the story if he ever reappeared
Yeah.
by the end of it.
Right.
And then the generator explodes,
Mm-hmm.
which is unfortunate. But yeah, so that's the story.
What'd you think of it?
I mean, I kind of liked it. I thought it was a
Good.
really interesting concept. It's not
Yeah.
something I would have ever, like, I never knew that about the molecules in our nutrition or any of that stuff.
Right.
So I didn't just enjoy an interesting story, I learned something new. So that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
It's not like the best story. I wouldn't call this a top tale
No.
personally.
No.
But it is very interesting. It's an interesting concept of someone actually experiencing going into the fourth dimension
Mm-hmm.
and what that could look like.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, and I'm glad to know that the science wasn't over my head
Yeah.
and that I could explain it better in the synopsis. But I did think it was an interesting story and a very interesting concept, and it was quite enjoyable to try and figure out like, why is this happening?
Mm-hmm.
And it was a pretty fast-paced story too. So it took no time to read it all, maybe 15 minutes for me to get through the
Yeah.
whole thing.
It's easy story to read.
Yeah, so a really fun adventure kind of situation,
So
sci-fi
what
thing.
title do you like better?
I kind of
Technical
like
error or
Reverse
history?
Man better.
Okay.
I don't even want to say that. Technical error is kind of nice because it doesn't give the story away.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the Reversed Man gives the story away too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, it does.
So technical error I think I like better.
Mm-hmm.
But also the Reversed Man doesn't necessarily give you the whole story.
No, it doesn't.
And like what does that mean? If you haven't read the story, what does Reversed Man, does he get flipped inside out? Does he get stuck in a mirror somehow and is in a mirror world? Like there's a lot of ways it could go. So you are
Mhm.
reading it to understand how and what the nature of Reversed Man is.
Right.
But I think I like technical error better because it's a little more ambiguous and doesn't give as much away.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have stuck with
Okay.
that one.
Um, Anybody who has read a lot of H.G. Wells will immediately identify the fact that this is a retelling of the Plattner story by
Mm.
H.G. Wells.
All right.
But it's different in certain ways. Clarke focuses more on the science
Mm-hmm.
of what happens to this guy. Wells chose to focus more on what the guy saw in the other dimension,
Ah,
which is really
interesting.
cool.
Interesting.
So with the Wells story, you have this whole description of this very otherworldly, other dimension. It gets very cosmic.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really cool story, and that one is a top tale.
Okay.
It is a brilliant story. It was written in like 1896 or something like that, way before this was.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it is cool that Clarke chose. He must have specifically chose that story to
Mm-hmm.
rewrite, and he wanted to rewrite it into 1950s, more technical, more scientific type
Mm-hmm.
of story
Mm-hmm.
to make it his own, and he did. Um, but in doing that, I think it's a weaker story.
It is. Yeah. I don't know that a nuclear generator would do that. Or
Well, no, but
like,
yeah, in
mm-hmm.
1946,
Yeah.
there's a lot we didn't know about
Okay.
nuclear physics.
Yeah, I suppose. If you take it in that context. But yeah, it just kind of seems it was intriguing, but it wasn't like the most compelling story
No, it
in the
was good.
world.
I would
Yeah.
recommend reading
Yeah, I
if you
think it was
like
enjoyable.
if you like the hard science fiction, 1950s science fiction, the Arthur C. Clarke kind of thing. I would recommend reading this one. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
don't skip it. But
Because I don't
it's
give
not his
justice
best.
any
It's not his
synopsis.
best, and it's not the best of this subject because he was basically ripping off H.G. Wells.
Stamp his name on. Ship it on out.
But it's not ripping off, it's appropriation.
Yes, he was using literary appropriation.
But
Yes.
no different from like J.G. Ballard rewriting Fall of the House of Usher for
Mm-hmm.
the Thousand Dreams of Stella Vista.
Yep. Or The Builder by Arthur C. Clarke, basically ripping off Noah's
Philip
Ark.
Dick.
Philip K. Dick, sorry. The other one with a middle initial. Yeah, Philip K. Dick with The Builder ripping off Noah's Ark.
Hmm.
Like, there's a lot of source material and there's a lot of, we're in a kind of an age of retellings right now, especially with Greek myths
Oh yeah.
as a big trend right now. So it's not surprising to see this. I'm feeling like it's being a little overdone, so I think that's partly why I feel a little, well, no, not really. I just didn't feel like it was that super compelling of a story.
No.
Interesting, but not.
Hmm.
I probably would not have chosen to read this on my own if I had read a synopsis of this prior
Okay.
to.
And well, this being just a short story in 1946, you don't get a lot of character, you
Yeah.
don't get world building, you don't get all that other stuff with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the idea here.
Mm-hmm.
But
It's
it's an interesting
particularly,
idea.
yeah,
Yeah, it
it's
is a
not a
really
bad
cool
one.
one.
It's an
But it's
intriguing what if.
it's H.G. Wells's idea.
Yeah. Someone else took that idea and ran with it.
Mhm. So, have you ever read Technical Error? Leave your comments what you think about that or Arthur C. Clarke
Mm-hmm.
or how much comparisons with the Plattner story,
Mm-hmm.
and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Our next Arthur C. Clarke coming up, probably not very long either, is The Curse.
I like my titles vague. What kind of curse? Oh, I'm interested.
Read it and find out.
Yeah, we will read it and we will
It's
find out.
probably in the
We will-
collected stories of
yeah.
Arthur C. Clarke.
We will report back with the curse.
Yep.
So, thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.